Do you see us? I feel like that's okay. So, word of advice. Hello to everyone, first and foremost, but this is on a 20-second lag, just so you know. The commenting's going good. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to get this started. We have tons of people that have been sitting in the chat waiting, like for the past 30 minutes, chatting it up. It's
oh my gosh.
awesome.
Okay, so I'm not in Crowdcast, so I can't see any of that. So I feel like I'm just talking to you, but that's okay.
Oh,
it's no big deal.
Fine. It'll be good. And we're going to do some Q&A in a minute too.
Okay, I was about to say, you tell me what people are saying.
Will do. All right. So this is webinar number 2 of the Indie Shopography Online Business Webinar Series. That was a mouthful. I did it all without coughing. High five. Super excited to get this started. Do a couple housekeeping things. First and foremost, you guys are going to be getting a little toolkit a little bit after this webinar ends. It won't be as immediate this time. So give it a few minutes, and in your inbox will be a toolkit of some things we're going to be talking about today, including a worksheet to just sort of review some of the things that Kathleen and I talk about today. And you'll also be getting a recording of this. So if you have to dip out early, it's fine. It will be here whenever you get back. To get started, I'm Emily, if you don't know me already. My main hustle is at Indie Shopography, where my team and I work with creative entrepreneurs to help them build online businesses. We do branding, web design and development, and coaching, and help aspiring online entrepreneurs build, launch, and grow their dream businesses. Excuse me. We specialize in working with makers, coaches, and designers, and we totally love what we do. Here at Indie, my job is designer and coach. I manage my team. I guide my clients in building online businesses, and I design websites that sell. Away from home, I have a little family, including my life and business partner, David, our 7-year-old daughter, who we homeschool, and a boxer fur baby. We love to travel. And we just spent the first half of our summer on a 40-day road trip across the country. You can check out #IndieGoesWest on Instagram. So being productive and intentional with our time so we can enjoy life and run a business is something that we are really well versed in. And today I'm joined with my fantastic friend, Kathleen Shannon, who is my pal. She's also my business partner and co-host at Being Boss podcast. And she also hustles out her own couple of businesses. There are several of them. So we've been friends for the past 4 years. And we started Being Boss podcast about a year ago. About 9 months ago. That's almost a year ago, Kathleen. That's crazy.
We could have had a baby. We could have
had a baby. We have practically had a baby. I feel a Being Boss baby. A very bossy baby. So Kathleen runs Braid Creative with her sister, where her and her team help creatives define and own their personal brands. She also recently launched Non-Doc, which is a fun project that I know I can't wait to hear more about. And she also has a 2-year-old son and a husband, and she rocks a pretty amazing work-life balance. So I had to have Kathleen on to talk about productivity because we are 2 of the most productive people that I know. So me and you talking about productivity, super excited. How are you doing, Kathleen?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm feeling wildly productive.
Are you really?
Wildly productive is my code for, so I changed my mantra from crazy busy to wildly productive and living the dream. And if your guests here on this webinar listen to our podcast, they may have heard us talk about this before, but on a more recent podcast, how we were talking about we chose this. And so wildly productive, living the dream, and I chose this are going through my head today, mostly just because today is a big, big day. I did launch nondoc.com, and along with all of our other stuff that we're doing. So yeah.
All the things. Well, high five to being wildly productive and living the dream.
Right?
All right, so today we're going to be talking about a couple of things, and all of them around crafting a productive day. Because the thing about, I think, doing business online is that things move very, very quickly. In the real world, like, mail takes a couple of days. And whenever you go visit people, like there's a time change and how long it takes you to get there to actually share the information that you want to share. But whenever you are doing business online, everything happens so much more quickly. So you absolutely have to be super productive or you are going to be left behind. So we're going to be talking about our days and how it is that we have crafted productive days for ourselves and how it is that every other boss in the world can do it too. So here's a little bit of an outline of the things that we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about what a productive day in our life looks like, so you can actually see like a real world example of a day that includes lots of work and lots of productivity, but also plenty of downtime and self-care and family time as well. We're going to be talking about what derails our productivity. So the things that happen in life that we know are just going to completely ruin a day. So that you can be really aware of those things in your life as well. We're going to be talking about our morning routines because we both believe that your morning routine will set you up for day-long productivity. I don't know about you, but whenever my morning is ruined, I'm pretty much going to be late all day long. We're also going to talk about some must-haves for a productive workday. So things that we have to have in our life to really be able to sit down and work it all out. How it is that we get productive when we're feeling the funk, because just because we are super productive doesn't mean we always feel like being productive. And we're also going to talk about how to craft your own productive workday so that you can really get all your shit done too. And then at the end of that, we are going to have some time for Q&A, I hope. If not, leave your Q's anyway. We'll find some way to answer those. But there is a little Q&A thing on this handy Crowdcast app that you can go in and put in Q's. I see a lot of you. Wow, there are already tons of questions. Kathleen, we gotta talk through this fast so we can answer some questions.
All right, let's just talk through fast and then answer questions.
Let's do it. Okay, so first and foremost.
I'm taking over as if we're recording a
podcast. Kathleen, this is mine.
I know, I thought.
I don't care. Take over. I'm going to start coughing in a minute anyway. You're going to have to take over, maybe.
I'll do it.
All right. So to dive in, I want to talk about like what our days look like. We are both work-at-home moms. We both have like our kids taken care of part of the time anyway, but we are work-at-home moms. We have lots of things that we're juggling at any given time. And we also work by our own rules, which means that our days always kind of look a little different. But I want to talk about what a really productive day in Kathleen's life looks like. So have at it.
Oh gosh. Okay. So I wake up at 6 a.m., sometimes as early as 5:30, depending on when my baby wakes up. And I have the same thing for breakfast every morning. I have some sweet potato hash browns with some eggs on top. And I take a really long morning just to make breakfast and look at my Feedly or Facebook. That's kind of my time to just do whatever. And it's cool because people said that would be hijacked once I had a baby, but that hasn't been the case at all. He's kind of hanging out too, and that's his iPad time. Anyway, so I have a long breakfast, and then it's all about just getting ready for the day. So I'm getting my son ready for daycare. My husband's getting ready for work. I send them off, and then it's into my work day. So one of the first things I always work on is my creative work. Or in an ideal day, I'm doing my most creative work first thing in the morning. So I might be writing a newsletter or writing a blog post or writing an agenda outline for our podcast or writing maybe even like a pitch to sell my e-course to like right now I'm working on writing a pitch to sell my e-course to kind of like a life coaching school.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll have to tell you more about that. I was trying not to give away too many details. Anyway, so it's just things like that, like maybe some business planning / creative work. And then in the afternoon, I usually, actually, that's not true. Lately, I was going to say in the afternoon I work out, but lately I've been doing my workout first thing in the morning at 8:30. I've started boxing. And so it's been cool actually getting my workout out of the way first thing in the morning. It leaves the rest of my day uninterrupted to do work. But if I'm not working out first thing in the morning, I'll usually work out in the afternoon, like at lunchtime. So that's what I did today. And then after that, it's usually about the stuff like emails or meetings in the afternoons, recording a podcast. My day is over usually between 4:30 and 5. I go pick up my son from daycare. And then it's strict family time after that. So I'm going to the grocery store, I'm cooking dinner, I'm going to the park with my family. And then we start our bedtime routine for my baby around 7:30 or so. And he's asleep by 8:30. Then I'm on the couch watching Netflix. Right now I'm watching the new Wet Hot American Summer series. So it's like a prequel to the movie, but all the characters are like 15 years older and they're like all 45 or 50 and playing 18-year-olds. So I love it. So yeah, that's kind of like my ideal day and what it looks like, but it's also a very realistic day of generally what's going on. So yeah, how about you, Emily?
Perfect.
What's your ideal productive day like?
Pretty similar, really. Like I usually get up about 6 o'clock too. I like to get up, or Lily gets up at about 7, so I like getting up a good hour before she does, because for me, my like 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock is my alone time. Because Lily's gotten older, like there's no nap time. We homeschool her, so there's no time in the middle of the day for me to squeeze away some alone time. So I get up at 6 a.m. and I either lay in bed and do this, or I'll get up, but usually in bed, and I just scroll through my phone, which I know is such like a bad thing for most people, but it's like my newspaper time. Like, a lot of people will get up, or like old people or used to, people would get up and like read their newspaper. Like now, like my phone is my newspaper. So I'll get up and I'll check out my Instagram. I'll look at my Twitter. I'll get on my flipbook on my iPad and see, what sort of articles I can read. I really love the New York Times, like daily updates they send to your inbox. So I can like get up to date on my current events. So like my 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock is usually my like good alone time. Lily wakes up at about 7. We'll get up. I'll get in the shower, make breakfast over the next like hour or two. We like to spend a lot of our family time together in the morning when we're all like fresh and not grouchy, which works out really great for us. And then I like to start working around 9 or 10. If I don't get to work at 9 or 10, I'm not going to work that day. So I know that I need to like get settled down around 9 or 10 in the morning. And I spend usually about 5 to 7 hours working every day. And I like to arrange my work days in the order of I have to start out with managing my emails. I cannot do anything else in my business until I know that my communications are handled. And I don't usually reply to any emails at this time, but it is a time that I can go in and trash all the stuff that doesn't need to be in there. I can, send things to Chris or Corey or whoever on my team if things need to be taken care of. And I can just sort of see if there's anything that needs my immediate attention. I've tried to do the creative stuff first thing before, but I cannot do anything until I know it's managed.
You saying that, I realized that I lied a little bit, because during my breakfast time, like that long, like super dreamy breakfast, I'm actually a lot of times managing my email, like just this exact same thing where I'm clicking through and trashing things that don't need to be read, and then maybe even responding to a couple of things. I have to. My email's crazy. It's out of control if I don't do that.
I agree. And I think that for me, starting out the day by managing those communications is one of the things that sets me up for like true productivity. Like if I sit down and try to answer them all, I'm going to spend my entire day answering emails. If I ignore them all day, I'm not going to be able to focus on anything because I know what sort of like a quote unquote burden an email is on my being. So if I can manage it first thing in the morning, the first thing I do when I sit down on my computer is open up mail and just manage my inbox. So from there, it usually involves checking in with the team because something has come up in the email or not. So I check in with them, see what's going on for the day. We're using Slack at the moment for team communication, which is tons of fun. We have lots of channels going, and it's been really fun to be able to check with them like ongoing now that we're on all remote. So I check in with my team, and then I sort of get to work. And work for me is a nice balance between in-house projects and clients or client work. So I'll dive into any of that stuff. And at that point, I can get my creative stuff done. Once I know my email's managed and my team is under control, because my team needs to be put under control, then it's so much easier for me to be able to really sit down and focus on whatever needs to be done. Then for me, meetings always come in the afternoon. I don't know about you, but I cannot focus on work past like 2 o'clock. Like my brain is usually very done in terms of like focusing on the computer and like designing things out or writing or whatever. So for me, meetings come in the afternoon because that's a time that I found that I can get up and walk around. I can really talk things out really well. And then the end of day is when I can finally focus on emails. So I usually allow myself about an hour, 30 minutes at the end of the day to answer emails, sort of remanage my inbox from whatever sort of come in during the day. And then I wrap it up, and that's sort of my work day. And then after work, I have to decompress first. Like I work super, super focused all day long, so that whenever it's time for me to stop working, I usually have a crash moment where I sincerely need to just be by myself. I said in the last webinar and say I'm an introvert, super introverted. And so as much energy as I put into people all day, I have to take a moment to myself immediately after work so that then I can move on to cooking dinner and hanging out with my family. We put Lily to bed at 8 every day, and just like note for all the moms out there, bedtime gets way easier. way easier. I know Fox, like, how long is Fox's bed routine?
Yeah, right now it takes about an hour.
Does it?
Yeah.
There's hope for you, Kathleen. There's hope out there.
So get through this year and a half.
Well, Lily's 7 now, so you may have a few minutes, but bedtime for her, we tell her to go brush her teeth, so she brushes her teeth, and we read a bit, smooch her, put her to bed, the end. So Lily goes to bed at 8:30, and then after that's the time that David and I get to hang out, or that's the time that I will tell David, like, I'm going to spend the rest of my evening alone and I'll go like read a book or read a magazine or whatever, or that's time that I'll go out and spend with friends. So that's sort of what really most days in my life look like, more or less. Sometimes I'll intersperse like a lunch date or spend the entire evening with friends or family or whatever it may be. But more or less, that's what my day looks like. And I like it. I've gotten super, super productive in that flow of work. And for, I think, both of us, the secret to all of it is that you have to make time for the things that are important to you every single day. You have to put them on the schedule, and you have to organize your time so that you can get it all done. We both, do lots of coaching and things, and people will struggle with productivity on an ongoing basis. And I think that really the secret to it all is making the things that are important to you priority and scheduling them into your day.
I agree. I get a lot of people asking me because I do work out every day. Like, so literally today I launched an entire website, which you know how launch days go. And I was working out at the gym at noon, which would be like unheard of most of the times, but it's such a habit. It's just as important as anything else. So yeah.
Yeah.
What's next? What are we talking about
Next, we're talking about what can throw a wrench in your day, because there's always something that's going to come up, and you can learn to deal with all the things that come up in your life. But there are a couple of things that I have identified in my life that if they happen, I know that the rest of my day is going to be a little off, so I can kind of anticipate it. One of the things for me is a bad start to my morning. If my morning starts off bad, like if Lily gets up ridiculously early, or if a couple mornings ago I got woken up by my dog Jane, like dry heaving in the bedroom, like she was getting sick. And so the first thing I did as soon as I wake up is like get up and run to the front door and let her out so that she's not getting sick in the house. Like those kinds of things, they just sort of pop up. But for me, I know that a bad start to my morning is going to derail my day a little bit. And I can always sort of come back to it by like having a moment of alone time, maybe a moment of meditation. But I know that a bad start to my morning is going to derail me a bit. What about you?
I think getting hijacked by other people's needs. So just being really reactive to emails. Again, emails, I actually, and this is something that I'm in, like I don't entirely have the solution. And you and I have even talked about it on the podcast. I know that we're both struggling with our emails a little bit, but because all of my emails are so incredibly unique, a lot of the email advice that is out there, I feel like doesn't entirely apply to my situation. And so, you know, I'll get an email and it'll hijack me even emotionally. So for example, the other day we got an email from a being boss. We're holding this event in New Orleans, and we got a email from a listener who's coming to our New Orleans vacation and saying that all the rooms have been sold out at the place where we're holding our events and hanging out. Hijacked. Like, I just, you know, because then I wanted to fix that problem, which was not on my to-do list, right? So that is like the thing that will really derail me. Another thing that throws a wrench in my day is whenever my baby gets sick. I've noticed that that's like even just a trigger for me emotionally. I feel completely out of control and don't know what to do whenever he gets sick. So this is where like that being a mom, even though my baby's in daycare, being a mom is just a whole other energetic thing that can sometimes throw a wrench in my day. So, and it's just something that you deal with. But I feel like I've actually been pretty lucky that things seem to serendipitously happen, like my baby getting sick on days that I don't have any meetings, which is like, oh, I could have gotten some work done today. But at the same time, he's definitely a priority. So I'll snuggle him all day.
I know, it's the sweetest derailment ever. No, I completely agree. I think the point with derailments is that as entrepreneurs, we want to control as much of our environment and our process as possible. And there are things that will completely derail you. And I think that the best thing that you can do is sort of like be kind to yourself, one, and knowing that the day may not be the most productive. And then you can set yourself up to be super productive the next.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I think being aware of your triggers too. So I know that an email might derail me. So I know that if I really need to get something done, I just need to really turn off the email for an hour and just get my stuff done, or acknowledge that I can come back to this. It's whenever you get really completely emotionally hijacked by something where you feel like you have to respond to that. But I think that for me, getting back on track is acknowledging that I have the power and the control to choose what I do next. You know, I can't choose what comes in, but I can choose how I react. So even that thing that happened with the New Orleans hotel situation, I got on Facebook and sent out a little message, and I sent you an email saying, let's powwow on it. And, you know, that's all you can do. So
Yeah,
Anyway.
it is. It is. It's all you can do.
Or
And
like things like not engaging in drama. So for me, it's stuff like getting an email. This will hijack me. Getting an email telling us that our podcast doesn't sound good. I'm like crafting an email for an hour, and I'm like, wow, that really was not a good use of my energy. I could have been making something. I could have made $100 right then just sending out a really productive newsletter versus responding to drama. So that's me, especially lately, probably.
oh, Kathleen, we need to work on your emotional derailment.
Well, I just read Brene Brown's new book, Rising Strong, and she talks a little bit about this. She got hijacked one time by this woman who made a snarky comment, and I mean, went to therapy and everything for it. So I felt a little less alone reading that. But
Good, good. Well, and I
anyway,
think that's it too, is that like that feeling of you're not alone. Like everyone has their hijack moments. The things that you see on Instagram and Twitter and in people's newsletters of these people who seem to be highly productive. Like you and I get shit done, but we totally have days where we are totally derailed. Friday, I got sick. And that was the day that I had set aside to finish all of my client tasks for the week. And I wake up that morning and I feel it coming and I got nothing done. It didn't ruin anything. I sent out a couple of emails and said, guys, too sick to like accomplish the things that I was supposed to accomplish today, and no one cared. Everyone sent me well wishes. So I think that's definitely part of it, is knowing that, again, being kind to yourself, knowing that having unproductive days does not make you an unproductive person. It just gives you more of a reason to get productive the next day and get your
oh,
shit done.
I was listening to a podcast this morning. I walked to Starbucks again, like totally dreamy. And I was going on a walk and I was listening to Mark Maron, an interview that he
Mhm.
did with President Barack Obama. And Barack Obama, I mean, imagine the drama and stuff he has to deal with. Like, at least we're not president, first off. We're not saving
Right?
lives. Like, there's that stuff. But one of the things that he said, that one of the ways that he keeps from kind of getting sucked into um, the drama of the daily ups and downs is to keep your focus on the long term and asking yourself, is today a little bit better than yesterday? Now, if you're emotionally hijacked, you might be like, no, it's not. But like kind of looking at big picture, is today better than yesterday? I thought that was really cool advice, as far as, because the phrase be kind to yourself, I just don't understand it. I mean, I have a hard time. Like, I don't,
Right?
like, and probably, I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
I need to
Let's keep
teach you
going.
that phrase. You and I are going to have a private conversation about how to be kind to yourself, Kathleen. That's going to
We should make that we should make that a podcast episode. How to be kind to yourself.
we should little coaching session. All right, so let's talk about our morning routines a little bit. So we've talked about what our entire day looks like, and we've talked about the things that throw wrenches in our days and sort of identifying those so that we know things are coming and we can adjust for them. Let's talk about morning routines. I don't want to dive too deep into our morning routines because we're going to do a podcast about this one day, about really what our morning routines look like. But we agree that setting up, or morning routines, is what sets you up for real productivity through the day. Having a routine that will get you out of bed into a productive place in as few steps as possible, so you're not making tons of decisions as you get to that place of work, I think is really, really huge for making sure that you are going to be super productive when you get to that place. But what are your must-haves for your morning routine? Like, what things do you have to have in the morning?
And I think that you're so right on, as far as just making the least amount of decisions that you have to in the morning. So for me, it's just knowing what I'm going to be doing in the morning is huge, not having to make any decisions. So knowing that I'm going to wake up at the same time, I'm going to eat the same thing, I'm going to go to boxing, those sorts of things, just being so reliable and not having to think. I'm not wasting any brain power. So I think that it's not the routine itself that I'm doing. It's just the fact that I have a routine. So that would be my main recommendation for anyone that's wanting to be a little bit more productive, is just to have a routine in the first place. And to do it, try doing it for 6 weeks straight. Not, if that seems overwhelming, try 4 days. Just commit to doing the same thing 4 days in a row, and then keep going every day after that. So that's what I would say about that.
Yeah, I agree. I think morning routines are everything for and anyone. Like if you listen to any interview with any highly successful, productive person, they usually have some sort of super rigid, sometimes morning routine
And
of something
really
that they
boring.
do
Even
every single
boring.
day. Yeah. It's amazing.
Not
It's amazing.
glamorous.
So absolutely have a morning routine. And I think for what the things that you should include in it are the things that are important to you. Food, obviously, like we both put on our little list, breakfast. Breakfast is one of those things that we have to have. You have to have fuel to fuel your day. For me, one of mine is alone time, like that chance to really just sort of get in my place of productivity. I have to do that alone. So that's really important for me. But set up a morning routine. That is the best, I think, tip we have for productivity is get your morning figured out so the rest of the day is
In
easier.
an ideal day would be taking a walk every morning. I think that would be dreamy, because it that movement, but not actually working out, it really helps me think about what I want to do, like what creative thing I want to do. Or it helps me, like I even write my blog posts or newsletters or content outlines while I'm on a walk.
Yeah, well, and that's meditation, I think, is something we should point out there, because that's just a moving meditation. It's you giving yourself a chance to sort of be in your head for a bit, and having the freedom to think about what you want to think without things popping up on your screen in front of your eyes. I mean, hopefully there's no cars coming at you that sort of jerk you out of that. But I think that those moving meditations or walking are really good. I need to get in a better habit of doing that. You and your walks to your coffee shop are genius. You keep doing that, Kathleen.
I know. I should make more time for it. What else?
All right. I want to talk about how it is. No, I want to talk about work days and the things that we have to be productive while we're actually being productive. So what are those things for you?
Okay, so for me, earlier you were talking about alone time and being an introvert. I want to point out that, and I think that there's a lot of conversation, especially in our Being Boss Facebook group, about introverts, and there's the quiet power, and and that's great. I think that introverts have gotten the short end of the stick for a long time. But for me, I really do feel 50-50, but I would say I'm probably more of an extrovert. And whenever I'm starting to feel maybe even in a funk, or here's the thing, I don't realize how much creative conversations energize me until after I've had them. So now that I've recognized this as a pattern, that creative conversations energize me, I definitely have to have them in my week. And so even today was a launch day and I'm busy and whatever, but I'm making time for this conversation because I know it will actually energize me and make me more productive. The conversation itself, especially being an entrepreneur who relies on content, like I do, my businesses are content driven with the podcast and even Braid Creative, where we're constantly sharing our gifts of knowledge. I need to have conversations so I have stuff to write about. So for me, that is a must. If I don't, so then the second thing that I need to have, and I've talked about this before on our podcast, how to do, is that sometimes I don't have a to-do list. But if I don't have a to-do list, I need to have a clear vision on what it is that I need to be doing. And if I don't have a clear vision, and lately I've been kind of scattered and overwhelmed, I need to have a very defined to-do list, because then things start pinging around in my head and I just need to write a to-do list and just work down the tasks. So that's what I need. What
Good.
about you?
Perfect. So for me, I need the quiet time. I have to have some quiet time before I can get in and hustle out anything. I cannot
you need quiet
focus.
time, Emily?
Yeah, a little bit. It's a little important. Have I said that yet?
I see this theme coming up.
I know. I really love my quiet time. And it's something that it's something that I've become much more aware of over the past year. And which is actually even sort of my cycle of becoming more and more productive is as I've realized that about myself and allowed myself to have that quiet time, and having a kid that's finally old enough to give me that quiet time is really important too. It's become obvious to me how important it is. So yeah, I need it. It's a recurring theme in my life. For me too, it's ideal work environment. And this is something we've talked about before. Environment's really important to both of us. And I think to creatives as a whole is working in a place that feeds creativity and allows you to focus. You can't focus if there are like kids running around you constantly, unless you're just one of those moms that can turn it off. And I am not.
Or even like a cluttered space. Or
yeah.
I think, don't take it for granted that the space around you might really affect how productive you are or aren't.
Yeah.
Listen to was it Shalene Johnson where we talked about
yep.
Environment, and I discovered, because it was low on my priority, and then I realized it was one of those things I need to focus on more in order to have a more productive work day.
Yeah, environment is really, I mean, think about like creatives and inspiration boards. Like there's a reason why Pinterest is full of workspaces that have inspiration boards on the wall. Like you need to be inspired to get your creative work done. So for me, one of my must-haves is just a workspace that's conducive to getting shit done. So whether that's quiet or inspiring or uncluttered or, whatever it may be, I think environment is really important. And then oh, yeah, just environment. Okay, so good. Next thing I want to talk about is how you get productive when you don't feel like being productive, but you've got shit to do.
Well, I'm a boss, right? And you're a boss, and we don't really have a choice. Like, I mean, we have so much on our plates that if we don't do the work just because we're feeling sorry for ourselves or we're tired or whatever, it means that there's going to be even more work later. So for me, I call it the Sunday syndrome, that anticipating the work is so much worse than actually just doing the work. So I just get into it. And honestly, at this point, being productive is not something that I think about. I just do it.
I agree. So we talked about this. Oh, we talk about this in an upcoming episode of Being Bosses, the one that comes out next week, I think, with Tommy from Shopify. We talk about how we combat being lazy, and we talk about this a whole lot. So definitely go check that out, like how to not be lazy, which is pretty much how to be productive when you're feeling funky. So we do talk about that a lot, and I think that that's huge. It's something that we've discussed otherwise in other places, where once you get to a level of bossness, you don't think about it. When you're having a bad day, it's not even an option to not get out of bed. You just get out of bed because there's no, like, you don't think about it. One of the ways that I like to make myself feel more productive when I'm not really feeling super productive is to do something that I enjoy first. So yesterday was one of those days for me. I came in, I got hijacked first thing yesterday morning. I came in, we were launching a client site, and I'd come in. It was supposed to have had, the domain set up the night before, and the first like messages that are on my screen was the login information that we received to access her domain didn't work. So the domain did not get switched over the night before. So it was one of those things where totally hijacked first thing in the morning. We deal with it, get the right passwords, it's under control. But then I just don't feel like doing anything. Like it's Monday morning, I'm getting over the crud. I don't want to be productive. So instead of diving right into my emails and all the other things that I wanted to do, I did something that I enjoyed. And so for an hour, I just researched charities online, which was such a gratifying way to spend an hour. And then after doing something that I enjoyed, I had no problems diving into all the other things that I needed to do.
Such a good person. When did this happen recently? It happened on our podcast too. I think it was this goal setting one that came out today where like Paul Jarvis and I are selfishly talking about like what we want. Well, are how much I want to help other people. And for fun, you're researching charities. Like for fun, I would be probably on Pinterest trying to figure out what outfit I want to buy.
Right. Well, okay.
Like, see how noble your procrastination is. Well,
and I think here's the thing too, is that was on my to-do list. So my things that I enjoy, we're still productive. So I think it's also like putting things on your list that you want to do. So yeah, I would have much rather have spent an hour on Pinterest, just, pinning things for our house. Like that would have been fantastic. But I instead looked at my to-do list, found the one thing that I could do that would take the least amount of like real like work from me, and something that I knew would totally drive me towards doing all the other things that I needed to do. And then, yes, I'm a terribly kind person.
All right. What else?
All right. So last but not least, I want to talk about how it is that other people craft their day. So like one tip that you give a creative entrepreneur who wants to be productive, how do they be productive?
I mean, I always come back to it, schedule everything. I use Google Calendar and I schedule everything. And I've probably in a lot of ways overscheduled myself, but what I also schedule is time off. So I block time off throughout the day to either go work out, or even I've started blocking off, okay, I really need to work on this project from this time to this time. It's not only a promise to myself that I'm making by putting it into my calendar, it's making the rest of my team aware to not schedule over that time. So scheduling everything is huge. And then meeting those commitments, treating meetings with myself like as important as a client meeting is huge for being productive. And then again, I think that having that clear vision of what it is that you want to do or need to do in order to feel productive, and asking yourself, what can I do that will make me feel productive today?
I agree with that. Calendars are everything. I'm the same way with mine. I'd use the exact same like tactics to make sure I get all of my things done, schedule all the things that I can, both for like personal accountability, but also so that everyone sort of knows what I'm up to, and they cannot hijack my time, which is super, super important. So my favorite thing, and I've done this myself, and I get all of my coaching clients to do it who are struggling with productivity, is to start recording your day. Like, what is it that you are currently doing all day? Because one of two things usually happens. One is that you're actually much more productive than you think you are. So sometimes it's just like a negative, like beating yourself up of, oh, I'm getting nothing done, when really you are. Or you find clarity in the areas that you can become more productive. So if you are spending, 18 hours a week in your inbox, you need to find ways to make your inbox a little more productive. So my big tactic is to record how it is that you are currently spending your day, so that it can bring clarity to how you are being productive or unproductive. Or so you can see just how productive you are actually being. So that's actually something that we'll be including in our toolkit that will be coming after the webinar, as a little tracker sheet, so you can start tracking your productivity. If you don't want to use a tracker sheet, I preach this all the time, and I did a Periscope on this earlier today too, is Timely. Timely app is something that I use religiously.
I'm the worst at it. I failed.
I know. I've tried to get Kathleen on it, and she apparently just can't do it.
I like started tracking my time, and then I come back and it's been like 23 hours and 46 minutes later. It's like, oops, I forgot to stop my time on that task. I suck at that.
It's definitely like an accountability thing. Like, you have to do it, and you have to stick with it. It took me a little bit to get on. David sucks at it too. Don't feel bad. He all the time he's on it, and I'll pull it up on the laptop, and it's been going for 70 hours. And I'm like, David, have you been bookkeeping for 70 hours?
I would much rather use your timesheet and just like write it in by hand, or maybe even do it on my iPhone in like the note taker, or I don't know. Or maybe like maybe it would be good to set an alarm on my phone for like every 30 minutes. And then I know at that time to track what I'm doing, either on my phone or in Timely or on a piece of paper, but I can't remember to keep track of time.
It's fine. It's fine. But I think that recording your time period, whether it's on paper, in your notes, or using the Timely app, are really, really important. Someone is actually talking about Pomodoro on the comments, and I've used Pomodoro before. I think it's a 90-minute calendar timer that you set to like allow you to focus for 90 minutes, and then it goes off, and so you can get up and move on to something else, because 90 minutes I think is that like
so cool.
time span.
I
Technology
naturally found that 90 I've naturally found that 90 minutes, and I think that there's 90-minute sleep cycles. There's something magical to 90 minutes because I found that that's about as long as my attention span can go.
Yeah, so the Pomodoro app is cool. There are lots of productivity apps out there, and recording or holding yourself accountable for time one way or the other, whether while you're doing it or tracking it, is really, really important for staying productive. You and I both, get tons of shit done in our lives, and we don't work 60-hour weeks. We're working, I work usually 25 to 30 hours a week. Like 30 is pushing it. About how many hours a week are you working? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Good. And I think that's great too. Like, I think
I feel like right now I'm probably, this is leading up to a launch though. I was probably working 8 hours a day, but mentally I've been with my work a lot more than I like to admit.
Yeah.
So I would like to get a little bit more, I would like to be a little more present with my family.
Gotcha. Well, launch is over, right? Launch day was today.
Launch is over. So, yeah.
There you
I
go.
would say that ideally I would be working 25 to 30 hours a week.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. And it all comes from knowing how it is that we are productive and capitalizing on that and having a really great morning routine and I don't know, using the tools available to us to help us get shit done. It's not impossible.
Knowing what we want to get done helps us. And so I think just that alone, knowing what you want is huge. So that's where that goal setting comes in.
Certainly. Goal setting and then scheduling out your day. Period. Those are some of our best tips. But we do have some questions, and we have about 10 minutes. I'd like to dive into a couple of these. Are you ready? Live Q&A. All right.
Should we try and make them like quick fire?
So I'll try to read them quickly.
As possible.
Yes, let's see what we can do.
Them quickly.
There we go. All right. Here we go. First one. How do you make productivity a habit and at the same time make sure you're not setting yourself up for a burnout? You gonna go with that one?
Sorry, Rebecca, I have no idea.
I mean, how do you make productivity a habit? You do it. You do it over and over and over.
And that's the thing is that once it becomes a habit, you won't burn yourself out whenever something has become a habit. I think you get burnt out whenever you're spinning your wheels. And for me, I think spinning your wheels happens whenever something isn't a habit, like whenever you're inefficient and I'm literally imagining like a car stuck in mud spinning its wheels. Habits are things that move you forward.
Well, I also think it's that prioritizing element. You're going to feel burned out if you're doing things that you hate over and over again, or if you're doing things that you like in a way that you don't like over and over again. If you can prioritize things so that you're not doing things so much that have to get done, but things that you enjoy doing, and then delegate all the other things, then you're going to be super productive without being burnt out. Like for me, productivity is a habit. I get up every day, like weekends included, and I'm insanely productive. And I don't really ever feel burnt out. If I'm ever having a moment where I need to stop being so productive, David and I have what we call lazy days, and we schedule them out. We will literally say, all right, David, like this Sunday is going to have to be a lazy day. And we'll block out that entire day. We'll schedule absolutely nothing, and we will not get out of our pajamas. So we allow ourselves to be super not productive. So the next day, and usually by the end of the day, we're like itching to like open up our email and see what's happening, or get on something and do something productive. But we schedule out that whole day of being unproductive, and that keeps us from feeling burnt out too.
I think as creative entrepreneurs, the work that we do should recharge us. And so for me, but don't get me wrong, like I've been feeling some burnout, and I think that's where, like, I was reading our show notes today from our Being Boss interview with Paul Jarvis, or actually kind of our Being Boss jam session with him. And he said, what was his minimalism quote? Like, is letting go of the things that don't serve you. And so I think if you're feeling burnt out, it's time to let go of some things that no longer serve you.
Amen.
Done. That's it.
Yep. That's it. Done answering that question. All right. What are your tips for getting back on the productivity wagon? I'm either all in or living on Netflix, and sometimes the transition is hard. I think it's that prioritizing piece. I think it's you think about what you want to get done and you do the things that you have to do to get there. And if that's not Netflix,
and I think
that's an easy choice.
for me, there's no choice. Like I'm so, and I said this, and it's been getting tweeted a lot lately, is that being accountable to something outside of yourself. So for me, I'm accountable to you. Even if I didn't want to do a podcast, we're doing a podcast because we've got it on the schedule, and I would be letting you down,
I'll
and
get
vice
mad.
versa.
Yeah.
But not even that you would get mad, but I just think that it's this sort of sense of responsibility and integrity to do what you say that you're going to do. So, and then I think that you set what you say you're going to do by scheduling it in your calendar or
talking about it. That's one of the things that
it.
I think is really huge is once you start talking about things just start, like, action starts happening. It starts sort of manifesting itself. And I'm also just realizing there's a thing of laundry right there, which is way cool. Way cool. So no, I think it's prioritizing. I think this is sort of my golden quote, I think, for our upcoming episode from Shopify. It's cultivating responsibilities that bring you joy. It's the idea that you would rather get up and do whatever it is that you want to do than sit and watch Netflix or do whatever sort of lazy-ish thing that you want to do. Like for me, those lazy days where David and I will sit and watch Netflix for an entire day, by the end of the day, we are itching to get up and do things. Like we are itching to get back on that productivity bandwagon because we love what we do so much.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like I'm all in on my work, but I'm also all in whenever I'm being lazy. Like I just own it. I'm like, this is what I'm doing right now.
Oh yeah. I live tweeted a lazy day
it.
recently.
This is probably bad to even phrase it as being lazy because it's not. Like that's the problem with our work culture that we're living in, is that if you're taking the evening off, you're lazy. No, that's ridiculous. So yeah. Reframe it.
Yes. Just
next question.
Okay. Start answering. My challenge is that people think I am home all day and available, family, etc. How do you create good boundaries? You turn off your phone. You actually, who said, I remember reading or listening to an interview once with someone who sent out a text, like she was writing a book. Was it Danielle? I don't remember. Interview sometime. She sent out a text to her entire family and her friends and said, don't call me or text me for the next 3 days because I'm writing this book and I have a deadline to meet. I think you have to set expectations. I think that's how you start setting boundaries, is it begins by setting expectations and voicing those expectations to the people that you expect to respect your boundaries.
Well, and I also think that, like, I don't want to talk about my work and make everyone think that I'm so busy all day and that I don't have time for family or friends or, spontaneous whatever. But I think that there is a good thing about talking about your work to your family and letting them know what you're up to so that they understand why you can't hang out with them. So I think it's just not being afraid to say, hey, I would love to talk with you right now, but I'm accomplishing X, Y, and Z. Here are my goals. Oh, have I not told you about this? I've started a business. It's like this, so I think that there's some of that involved too. And beyond that, like, I don't care if people think I'm not working all day. That's, what I mean? And, and like you said, Emily, like my phone is off and I'm working all day, I guess, but I don't think that's what you were asking. But like, if the perception is that I'm not working, that doesn't bother me. I guess it would be the interruptions that would bother me. But
yeah, it's the boundaries. Like it's create them. Like how do you create boundaries? Good boundaries. You
let people know what you're doing and let them know when you are available. So give them alternatives like, hey, I can't talk right now, but I will be available after work at this time. So the issue may also be just that you don't like your friends or family that are interrupting you and it's like a whole other bag of worms.
That could be, if that's it, you should probably have a different kind of conversation with your friends and family. But yeah, I think the solution here is communication, period. And whatever that may be, it's you defining what it is that you want and then communicating it to the people that it affects. All right. Another question. Would love insights into how to set up a morning routine to get necessities completed. What are your morning routines, Kathleen and Emily? Oh, we talked about this a bit. Get up early,
sorry, answered.
eat breakfast, then get to work. Basic. Fill it with things that are important to you. Done answering. All right. Okay. How do you balance a schedule, quote unquote schedule, with enjoying the flexibility to do your own thing?
That is such a good question. Because I think it's actually easy to take for granted sometimes. I think that that's what I've been doing lately. But I balance a schedule with enjoying the flexibility of doing my own thing by making my own schedule, by doing things like going for walks and acknowledging I would not be able to do this if I was working a typical day job. Um, so that's kind of how I balance it, is just by acknowledging, wow, isn't this great that I'm getting like that? It's my job right now to be Skyping with Emily, and this is what we do for a living. So just stuff like that is probably how I balance it as far as getting in the right mindset about it. But for me, I've told people before, I feel like I don't have a lot of flexibility. Like whenever my son gets sick, a lot of times it's my husband who has the day job, who has to take off and take care of the baby because I have appointments that are scheduled that can't be rescheduled. Um, so, there's that. Sometimes I think that whenever you end up creating the dream job for yourself, it becomes less flexible, I guess.
I
Unless you
agree.
build that flexibility into your life,
Yeah, well, and I think that building flexibility into your life is still scheduling. So for us, the way we remain productive during like the productive times is that we schedule everything. Like I schedule alone time. We schedule family time. We schedule lazy days. Like I think you have to schedule in large blocks of spontaneity.
Yeah.
Basically. And like if you want to live a productive life, it's being super productive as much as possible, but it is scheduling in still those little blocks that you can sort of do whatever you want to do. And
And
then
I
you
think
have,
it's even respecting those blocks too. Like, so
yes.
for example, recently Emily decided that Thursdays are going to be no meeting days. And because I know this, I was like, can I just schedule one thing on a Thursday? It was a big interview, but otherwise, like, I think it is respecting and setting up the expectation for the people around you to respect that time that you schedule to be flexible or to not do anything.
Definitely. I think again, communication and still scheduling it in. Super
Yeah.
important. All right, let's do one or two more. We were a couple minutes late, so let's see if we
Okay.
can get. Yes, are you okay for like 5 more minutes?
I am for sure.
Okay, perfect. All right. Here's a new one. How do you take productive breaks? I'm talking about the ones that make you feel refreshed when getting back to work. So I think that was scheduling them in.
Yeah. How do you take productive breaks? That's from Jessica. She's a total
hmm
boss. I think she's coming to New Orleans with us.
She is. I'm excited. We're
Ones
going to
that
have so
make
much
you feel
fun.
refreshed when getting back to work. So I don't know if she's asking though, maybe like what specifically do we do to feel refreshed?
Oh,
Take a shot. Like, I mean, because we talked about scheduling it in or
right.
whatever, but I guess for me, like my productive break would be, again, like I said, those coffee conversations with other creatives, like that helps me feel recharged. Because sometimes I'll take breaks that I feel even more drained afterwards. I'm trying to think of what those are. Like sometimes a Netflix binge.
Yeah, sometimes those are a little soul sucking. I really like, I mean, yoga is something that I like to do. So like if I'm sitting here, I have a really bad habit of sitting, and I'm sitting here right here now like this with my legs crossed in a chair. So like if I'm sitting here for really long periods of times, like my legs get totally stove up, like real bad. And so for me, if I need to take a productive break, whether it's a break from productivity or something that's still going to be productive, for me it's just a yoga break or getting up and walking, like going for a little walk,
Mine is
calling a
boxing.
friend. What?
Mine is boxing. I'm
Yeah,
totally obsessed with boxing.
good. I'm never gonna fight you. There we go. I'll downward dog your ass. All right. All right, so done answering that one. Um, oh, here's kind of a fun one. How to be productive at the end of the day, but then switch to rest mode before bed.
Ooh, this is a good one. I've
This is a
actually been
good one.
experiencing this a lot lately because I've been working in the evenings, which I usually try to keep a secret. But for me, I mean, I know it's so bad to be looking at a screen before you go to bed. So a few tips that I've heard that I don't actually use are well, getting those blue blocker glasses. So they're orange tinted glasses and they block out the blue light so that literally your brain isn't still like rah, from all the screen light that you're getting before bed. So try that. I I want to try that. I just can't. I literally can't imagine like sitting on the couch next to my husband on my laptop with like orange glasses on. I was like so vain. Okay, some other things that I do to kind of decompress right before bed is I will take a melatonin pill. Like this is a new thing that I just started, but it's a supplement that kind of helps calm your perineal gland. Is that I might be using a way wrong word that
What
describes something
gland,
else.
Kathleen?
Anyway, it kind of rests that and it helps you not wake up through the night. I'll take a shower and kind of just like wash my day off of me. I'm a night shower. I will get in bed and I'll read just a few pages of a book. Like that usually helps me decompress. And then finally, whenever I really need it, I will listen to a yoga nidra recording. And so what this is a recording that kind of takes you, it's a relaxation technique that takes you through all your different kind of body parts and relaxes them. And usually by the end of the recording, I'm totally asleep. So those are my tips for resting right before bed if you've been working right up until bedtime. And it's probably about, I would say 30 minutes of like all that stuff takes about 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think I like to read something non-digital, so magazine or book, like getting my eyes away from screen, though that's really hard. Sometimes I just want to hang out on Instagram before I go to bed. Like sometimes that's how I want to decompress. Which is bad, but whatever. Reading a book, one of my favorite ways, like if I'm really like drummed up from a day and I cannot decompress fast enough using my usual outlets, a good hot shower or bath. Like something that's just going to be super relaxing so that your body like chills out
You know,
and
speaking of like an
relaxes.
orgasm seems to do the trick.
Yeah, have some sex. Maybe that'll help.
I'm just even if it's by yourself, like whatever, do what you gotta do.
See, guys, this is the kind of stuff that we would usually cut out of a podcast because if you give Kathleen a microphone, you never know what's going to come out.
But we're live.
But we are live, so unedited. So yeah, those are, I guess, those are some really great tactics, Kathleen, for decompressing after a productive day. Done answering. All right, let's do one more. One more. Oh, let's see. Let's do this one. What happens when you have to work while you are technically traveling for fun because life threw you a curveball? How do you deal with this work-life blend? This isn't really a productivity tip, but I feel like this is kind of a productivity tip. What happens when you have to work while you're supposed to not be working? You work?
Well, I'm trying to think of like an instance whenever this would happen. I've gotten really good at letting go. Like for example, I think that and delegating. So, but I'm going to respond to this assuming that you don't have a team to delegate to that is not on vacation. So one time whenever I was freelancing, I remember I was at the beach and I had someone email me and they were really antsy about getting this project done. And I told them I couldn't do it. And it was the first time I was kind of like, I can't do it. Like I'm on vacation and I didn't get the job, and I'm out, maybe it was a $3,000 project, but I was able to have my vacation with my family, and that's much more memorable than having to work while I was on vacation. So like for me, I've just set up pretty strict boundaries. So and I think that my clients that I respect the most and respect me the most would be okay with those boundaries. They would say, "Oh, I got it. Like you're right. Like this isn't a huge deal." So I'm trying to even think though, like on the flip side of that, like let's say my website went down and Emily was traveling. And I was like, "Emily, my website's down." Like, what would you do in that instance, Emily?
Well, and I'll tell you, like there are times that I travel when I would be very glad at that point that Corey is in my life, where I would delegate. Like that's why I have a team, so that I don't have to make those calls like that. If I didn't have a team, and you were someone that I just simply always wanted to make happy, and like you are, Kathleen, I always want to make you happy.
And that's why I asked that. Like, if I was literally like, "Oh my God, my website's down."
Yeah, in the case of actual emergencies, you're a creative entrepreneur. You are your own boss, and sometimes life will throw you curveballs. Go find some Wi-Fi, hunker down for 3 hours, and get it done. Like I think that's also a perfectly reasonable answer. I think that those emergencies are sincerely few. I think that a lot of people's definition of an emergency when it comes to what most of us does isn't actually an emergency. I have a very strict definition of what an emergency is, of what would actually be important enough to pull me away from, travel, fun time with my family and friends. It would have to be legit bad. And it would, at that point though, I'd work on it. I'd do it. I'm not ashamed. I'm my own boss. I'm a creative entrepreneur and I do business online. Sometimes that means doing shit that I don't want to do. And I'd do it.
And I guess what it means too is that you can choose to take a vacation later. I just think if I worked really hard for my vacation and I'm paying thousands of dollars to be on vacation, and I think that again, this could be a whole other episode, or we're not recording a podcast right now. This could be a whole other thing, is that setting up expectations before you travel that I'm really not available, or how much available you are for work, and that if it's emergency, like maybe you limit yourself at 3 hours, like, "Hey, I've taken this as far as I can." I don't know. Or charging them, like letting them know, "Okay, I'm going to charge a rush fee so I can take this vacation later."
Yes,
I don't
absolutely.
know. Like that's a tricky thing, because I think it ultimately comes down to do what is going to make you feel best. And I guess the complicated thing with being a creative entrepreneur is, let's say you do say no, that might be hanging over you a little bit on your vacation. Like that's the thing, is hard to separate work and life whenever you work for yourself. And that's what we even say that in our Being Boss intro. Like it's a messy blend. So you just do the best you can.
Right.
That's my answer. You do the best you can.
Yeah, you do. And
you
also start building in safeguards too. Like if that becomes an issue, if it's something that you're going to run into a lot and it's important for you to have that complete and utter separation at some moments in your life, that's why you invest in hiring a team or having a backup someone there. So yeah, I think very good answer, Kathleen. High five. I think we did it. All right. Mm-hmm. All right, so that's it, I guess, unless you want to keep going. We have a couple more, but we're good.
I'm going to an art opening.
That's beautiful. Oh, that's right. Oh, well, good. You enjoy that, honey. You super enjoyed. Thank you so much for joining me today on my webinar.
Having me. This is fun.
This is fun. We're gonna have to do live ones more often so you can talk about more orgasms.
Like, we should get together more often.
I know. I'll see you tomorrow.
Like this.
All right. So thank you for coming. If you guys want to learn more about Kathleen, you can find her business at breakcreative.com. You can find her new project NonDoc at nondoc.com. You can find her personal blog, which she kind of sucks at updating these days, at andkathleen.com.
because mostly I'm doing a podcast at lovebeingboss.com.
Amen. So you can find her at all of those places. She's super fantastic, one of my favorite people on the planet. And thank you for joining me here. This is number 2 of a series of 4 online business webinars. You can join us next week at the same time and place. The same link too, which is amazing. We're going to be talking about getting paid online, and Secret Exposed, David is going to be on that webinar with me. So if you guys, I know, right? So if you guys want to meet and talk to my dear David, who is my life and business partner, he takes care of all the money in my business. We will be together talking about how to get paid online next Tuesday, 2 p.m. Central, right here. If you snuck in without signing up, you can sign up at indieshopography.com/webinar, and you will get all the info you need for accessing next week. Some action items for the day. Identify the wrenches that will derail your day. I think by having clarity around what those things are in your life, you can plan for them a little easier and work around them much easier as well. You can minimize their impact. You can look into your morning routine. Start creating one. How can you structure your morning to set you up for better productivity through the day? You can also check out your inbox very, very soon, where we're going to have your time tracking worksheet, as well as a worksheet that sort of covers some of the things that we've talked about today. That's it. Thank you for joining. See you guys next week.
Bye, you all.